Can you please teach how to
Hello,
play Greatsword?
I saw your video.
Teach me Greatsword, please.
Hi,
I
I'm
want to
11.
Please teach me Greatsword. Osby, you're too good at Greatsword. Please teach me how to play.
Okay, I get it. This guy is outdated, and there's some false thing about it. I know, so I'm remaking it, you happy? Next video will be a review though, and because I'm not normal in the head, it bothers me a lot to make the script for a review with so many people asking for a guide remaster. So I'm gonna speedrun this shit, while making sure to include everything that I also learned in between the last guide and this one. Like always, chapters are going to help you guide you, and if I go too fast, don't hesitate to rewind a bit or come back later. Greatsword is the most unique weapon in Brawlhalla, thanks to a mechanic called the bridge system, which allows you to have 3 variants of the same attack depending on the order of which you execute these moves. Example, this is a D-Light, this is also a D-Light, and this too. The first move of the combination is called an opener, the second one is called a bridge, and the third one is a finisher. The finishers are recognizable due to the red slash. They also have this odd attribute where they have 3 different variations of themselves. So if you really think about it, Greatsword has 15 grounded moves. But it really doesn't matter, cause a lot of those moves are so inferior to some others you'll never use them. Even though a Greatsword is heavy and difficult to use rapidly IRL, Brawlhalla decided to say fuck it! And made Greatsword a string weapon that does no damage but hits fast. And like most string weapon, it doesn't have a lot of true combos, but I still decided to dedicate a chapter just for them. And like most string weapons, the goal is to build a lot of damage easily with the trade-off of having no kill confirms. The only way of killing being to land a finisher, a sig, or an aerial. But how do you do a finisher exactly? 3 ways. You either do the same move consecutively, do 3 different moves, or you do a gravity cancel. In order to build damage, you have to do what's called a bridge cancel, where you cancel your stance using a chase dodge or a dash in order to reset the cooldown before the finisher appears. This allows you to read, extend your strings, apply pressure, etc. This mechanic is extremely important, and it's imperative that you learn that before anything else. Here, I do sidelight, D-Light, and light, and that's no good. So I'm going to do sidelight, D-Light, and then chase dodge or dash into any other openers. Note that you can't cancel your chase dodge with the same opener move you did to start a string, unless you reverse it. So pause the video right now, go into training mode, and do it until you succeed. Then come back. Start by doing it slowly if you have to, then speed up the inputs. It makes it easier to learn. Now let's explain in which situation you should use X or Y move. First we have the openers, and they're pretty straightforward. Sidelight opener is your main approach tool, because not only it is the fastest out of the kit, but it's also the move with the least amount of recover time, so you're not putting yourself at a big risk by throwing it out. It also leads into every dodge read possible, so it's very rewarding. D-Light opener is Greatsword long range option. Think about it like bow D-Light, if bow was bad, because unlike bow, you're committing yourself more to this move due to frame data and hurt box placement, and it doesn't have a splash hitbox, so it can't catch late jumpers. But the move is still pretty decent, it also leads into every dodge read, opener and light. I don't know why I said it covered a pretty decent area in front of you the first time, but it really doesn't. It's mainly a vertical move, meaning you can catch jumps, and because you can't reset it to the same opener move, as well as doing the same move twice in a row, you'll use N-Light for dodge read instead of an actual string starter. Doesn't mean that you can't convert N-Light into something interesting, I'm just saying that there's less reward into hitting it. On to bridges. Bridge Sidelight is the hardest hitting bridge of them all, but it's also jumpable, so it's trash! So you just have to test the water and see if your opponent is susceptible to getting hit by it. Bridge D-Light is the bridge you'll be using the most. It may do the least amount of damage, but it pushes your opponent further, creating an early KO situation. It is also unjumpable, like fully now. Bridge and Light.
That's pretty good.
For finishers, Bridge and Light is, like I said, the most second used bridge because it's also unjumpable, but it has the stupid tendency of dropping after a sidelight opener. For finishers, I'm just going to go around the useful ones because there is a lot of them and a lot of them are useless. Finisher D-Light is probably the worst finisher to go for. It's only used in 2 niche. The first one is after performing a bridge sidelight close to the edge, because it will force the sword to do a slam on the ground and it will spike any poor soul caught by it.
Okay, I can't believe that hit.
The second being the gravity cancelled version, since it hits both sides, making it a decent wake up tool. Finisher and Light, you're never wrong for throwing it out, because it catches jumps. The downside is that it kills late, but when you're building damage, always go for N-Light, unless you want to try this cheese, which by all means, go for it. Finisher Sidelight. Only use it after an N-Light bridge, because it's unjumpable and kills early, or a D-Light bridge, because it also kills early, but can be jumpable, although much harder than what the previous buff did. It's aerial time. Nair is big, helps you jungle, can be stringed with recovery, and can kill at time, but there is much better move to do so. Think of it like a chunky orb Nair. Recovery is slow to start up, but has the benefit of having a bit hitbox and being fully steerable, making it somewhat safe to throw out. If skilled enough, you can use it in combination with Nair for a ceiling gimp. And because it hits grounded, you can use it to start juggle sequences. Be careful off stage though. The long startup means that there is a high chance of your recovery breaking if used badly, so always be careful when using it. Side air, not a fantastic move. It takes a long time to come out, a long time to end, and I'm reading the script for the first guide, side air. It's finally usable, for fuck's sake! It only took 2 years, but better late than never, I guess. When starting a juggle sequence, you can catch your opponent drifting from the side with it, and you can also use it in edge guarding now. Don't try starting a ground string with it though, it's still a bad idea. And like I said before, using Sair towards the wall can help you string into other moves. And then you have my favorite move of the kit, Dare. Because it allows you to be a piece of shit. Low end lag, fully steerable, safe, it's broken. There's also a grounded version as well that helps you start strings, but try avoiding landing with one because you'll be glued onto the ground with your butt cheeks wide open. And if you ask me, that 2 damage isn't worth it. To do the air version, you have to jump high enough for the blade to fully extend without touching the ground. And to do the grounded version, you just have to be close to the ground for the blade to touch it. Not much to say about the grounded version because it's pretty straightforward, you just try to read from it, but the air version is very versatile. You can protect yourself after whiffing, bait, start a juggle sequence, and one last thing that I'll touch on the next chapter. And last you have ground pound, which is slow, reactable, punishable, with low force, overall a piece of shit. So you either read with it or cover an area that your opponent is forced to recover into. But it's not the only thing you can do, since there's also a grounded version. You do it by hitting the opponent with your blade before the red slash appears. It causes a screen shake, which can be confusing for your opponent, and puts him in midair, within range to hit an endlight on lower health, and a Nair recovery at higher. Doesn't mean that you have to throw it out a lot, it's really punishable, and the reward is not enough to justify using it. It's really just for flexing or BM.
Hey! Didn't you say that Greatsword didn't have a lot of true combos?
Well, yes, but they were pretty weird, so might as well explain them real quick. First, you have the easiest one, being Sidelight G-Light. Before you needed to hit the tipper, but no longer. You can now hit the handle, and it will work. Don't go for it if you hit the middle part of the blade though. Then it won't be true. Then you have one that I didn't use a lot back then, but who is really important, because it gives you a kill confirm when you fail at killing your opponent past the 180 damage threshold. I present to you, Dare into Jump Nair. It is true, and it's a kill confirm. And because Dare is safe, you aren't putting yourself at a big risk fishing for it. For true combo, fast fall Dare into Dare at dark orange. Really dangerous, but it's also very rewarding. It's really important to have the momentum of a fast fall for it to work. And finally, you have Chase Dash Pivot Falling Sair into Dare, which is situational, but doesn't hurt to go for it. Most of these combos that I just explained are rare to perform in game, but they come in handy in some situations, so it doesn't hurt to know them. This part didn't change at all, so I'm just gonna let past me explain it. It will save me some time, and I can cringe in peace.
There are 6 major ways to read on Greatsword, so here's how to read every dodge. You can also read right and left dodge with Endlight Opener, but there are some issues with it. The first is that it forces the Endlight G-Light punish, which deals less damage. The second is that it's subject to specific timing. Hit it late if you want to read out, and hit it early if you want to read in. So it's possible to just fail the read outright because of timing issues. And finally, depending on when you hit your opponent, the move can drop. Not saying that it's not viable, but it's rather inconsistent at times.
The punish game didn't change at all, but there was something I didn't mention previously when talking about punishes, mainly cause I wasn't good enough, but let's start by chronological order. At low level, you find so many people that won't be able to jump out of your strings, so if you're mid-plat or lower, you can easily continue your strings after more than one dodge read. At high level though, people will know when to jump out of your strings, so if you want to secure the most damage, do this.
Oh man, I'm gonna die in 24 hours and my only option to survive is getting laid.
For any dodge called with N-Light, go for D-Light Bridge and N-Light Finisher. You can also try to squeeze in Side-Light Finisher if you want to kill early. It may be jumpable, but it's not exactly easy to jump out of it. For any dodges called with D-Light or Side-Light, go for N-Light Bridge, Chase Dodge N-Light, Bridge D-Light, and Finisher N-Light. And like I mentioned previously, you can also try to squeeze in Side-Light Finisher. It's important to note that if the opponent has touched the ground or did a dodge down, you'll only be able to hit 3 moves. A lot for a kill, but not for the full punish. Now, the thing I didn't mention last time, and that is very important. Greatsword punishes aren't linear. I may have given the wrong idea last time, but they're not. And because it's not linear, it also means that it's creative. You're maybe very good at juggling, so instead of catching an up dodge with N-Light, you would recover. Cause you're sure that you can convert that read into a juggle. But there is another element to take into account, and it is your opponent dodge timer. Example, this guy just used this dodge in the air, meaning that he has the 3-second cooldown unless he touches the ground. He did touch the ground, but like I mentioned a bit earlier, a down dodge or dodge into the ground still lets you get hit by 3 moves.
Ha! Where's my dodge? What do you mean?
The neutral may have been resetted here, but I continued my punish because I caught his landing. And I know what you're gonna say, Shaw. Wow, what's Spidani using me again in his video? Yeah, fuck you! Okay, I have more stuff to add this time, and it's mainly cause my neutral got way better. First of all, keep this idea inside of your head at all time. Greatsword is an adaptation weapon. By that I mean that depending on the player, weapon, position on the map, you're the one that has to do the changes in order to win, not much so your opponent. It's very important for you to test the water and see what you can get away with and what you can't. Example time, and probably the most common. Your opponent stays at the far and is just ready to jump your attack which he can react to. And like has no range, we have a problem. Time to find a solution. Well, first, let's dash dance near him. Does he react? If the answer is yes, try to bait him into doing a bad move, then punish it. If the answer is no, it's back to the drawing board. Okay, so I need a move that can hit him in midair because he's gonna jump my string. Okay, we can try dash jump fast full recovery. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. But then again, you just have to look at your options and see what can work in that situation. So just try everything you have and always adapt to what he's doing because chances are he's not gonna get hit by the same shit the entire game. But you get the point. It's impossible to force a gameplay onto your opponent for every match. Example time number 3. I knew that this guy didn't know what he could jump or couldn't on Greatsword, so after cutting his gravity cancel, I just went for the most damaging punish I could think of, because I knew he wasn't gonna think about jumping it. I know that some people are gonna ask me for tips on how to approach, and it's not a bad thing, because you're supposed to adapt, and if you're not using every option in your kit because you don't know them, then what's the point? So here are some tips to help you win neutral. You can try to bait using low and lag move like dare or sidelight. Just make sure that you learn how to dash out of a failed move before. And speaking of dashing, learn how to dash jump fast fall. The earlier you're touching the ground, the easier it is to punish a failed move with a grounded attack. Then you have the classic dash dancing. In order to have a good neutral, you want to keep having stage control, and it can be hard considering that one move lifts you off the ground and it can be enough to ruin that solid momentum. And there isn't a good way of touching the ground again since Greatsword has terrible air to ground transitions. The only attack below is dare, and like I said, it can be massively punishable if you land badly with it. So try things, weapon throws, baiting the stage touch, you get the point. This part didn't change at all, but I'm still going to go through it. Doing a GC puts you into the finisher mode. They're all massively punishable, so be careful. GC N-Light. It does a small jump with the same travel distance as a directional up dodge. You can use it to juggle or as a mix-up / last resort option when coming back to stage. GC Sidelight. The worst one so far. You can poke someone standing too close to the edge, or you can extend an edge guard. GC D-Light is a wake up and nothing else. Just remember that all of these are very punishable, so be cautious using them. Greatsword offstage is very straightforward. It's there, into there, into there, into there, there.
Shut the fuck up!
And sometimes use Sair or ground pound if needed. If you're trying to come back from stage, go low and try to hit nair to fend off the attacks or temper recovery if possible. Just be careful, it doesn't work against diagonal attacks like bow there, scythe there, orb there, lance there. You get the point. But oh shit, I'm almost out of time! After a full year, we got a new Greatsword legend. Hooray! There are 4 Greatsword legends in the game. In S tier, we have Jaeyeon, because he has balanced stats, Sword, who is an extremely reliable secondary, with its easy neutral and kill confirm. And on top of that, he has good Sigs, for the most part. The cherry on top being Greatsword and Sig, who reads half of the dodges when paired up with an opener. In A tier, we have Meiko. She has a lot of speed and so much utility in her Sig kit, but she has one major flaw that makes it impossible to put her in S tier. She can't kill. Both of her weapons don't have a kill confirm, and after godding the force of her D-Sig, you have to build a lot of damage just to kill with it. Then you have Magyar still at B for the same reasons. Low speed, trash Sigs, a good weapon combination, but hammer is fucking shit. And finally, we have Arcadia, who's really just a spear legend in disguise. Her stats are awful, way worse than Magyar funny enough, and while her spear is absolutely broken, her Greatsword Sigs are okay. Hard to land but hits like a truck. If this was a 2's list, she would be A just for her spear alone, but for once she's staying B with Magyar. But who knows, maybe in 2025 we'll have a Greatsword Gauntlet legend that has acceptable stats and Sigs. Well, that took me more time than I thought, but I hope that this guy will help you all shut the fuck help you improve. If Greatsword ever gets nerfed, you probably have to refer to my old guide, but there's no more it's outdated excuse, unless they do something dumb and I don't know, like rework the whole damn thing. And if that happens, don't ask me to do anything, cause I'm gone. I'm out of here. On that note, I can finally go back and work on my review. This video was an exception, okay? And I don't know how to end this, so yeah.